Hello, it's McGuire. I decided to do a video this week instead of the usual slideshow, just to mix it up a little bit. Let's just jump right into it so I don't go too far over. Like I did in the last one, I actually have to cut this down. Melik, what elements make music more or less advanced? And first things first, selecting repertoire. They mention how easy music is boring and hard music is too frustrating. And both of those are really bad for rehearsal because they disrupt the rehearsal because students don't connect with the music and they find themselves being off task. So it's really important to find a happy middle that challenges the students but doesn't make them like stop paying attention because it's so easy or make them give up because it's so difficult. Some fundamental elements that make music more difficult are the range, rhythm, dissonance, and the dynamic contrast. So throughout the entire presentation, I'm actually using the piece Satiric Dances by Della Gioia. This piece is graded as a 4 on the prescribed music list, and I would recommend playing this piece if you specifically have a group that is having trouble with very wide dynamic expressiveness. This really has a lot of that in the piece, so that would be my main objective trying to teach this piece. Like I said, their dynamics are all over the place. Subiti piano to fortissimo is everywhere, especially in the first and third movements. Just a lot of bam movement throughout the entire piece. The tempo is very, very dynamic in its own sense that there's a lot of rapid changes. So in combination with the dynamics, it makes a really cool effect, but it's really hard to pull off because of the amount of changes happening all at once. The rhythm, there's a main chromatic motive throughout the first movement that can be difficult to play clearly. The ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So that's throughout the entire piece. It's just two groups of 16th notes and it's chromatic, so it's really not that bad. But I would still start it off slowly so you can hear all the notes clearly. In the third movement, there's a lot of fast, repetitive licks in the clarinets. That can be kind of a problem, but it's kind of the same thing, right? Where it's not super crazy in your note ranges, but it is fast. So as long as you get that finger dexterity up, they'll be fine. Dissonance in the second movement, the first notes of the second movement are actually dissonance and require really confident flute players so they can play their own notes without matching the pitch of their partners. The piece ends in a very similar way where everything clashes until that final tonic chord. Student assessment and learning. So what I'm trying to assess as an instructor here is how obvious can my band make the dynamic contrast and achieve the dynamic variation. I actually stole this from the concert evaluation rubric. I'm going to pull it up real quick and find where it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the fifth bullet point of superior division, dynamic contrast is consistently obvious and effective. And 1, 2, 3, and musicianship, students consistently achieve dynamic variation and musical nuance. Let's see, go back to my speaking notes. Oh Lord, there it is. Okay, so to earn a superior division in dynamics, it has to be obvious. And that's kind of what Satiric Dances is all about. It's hopping back and forth between the extremes of those dynamic ranges. Another thing that students can learn from the piece is their finger dexterity with licks for the woodwinds in that third movement. It's a good introduction on how to play faster music because, like I said, it's very repetitive. So you only have to play like 3 or 4 notes, but they're repeating. So it's kind of a confidence boost that you're playing that fast because you're just playing the same thing over and over again. So it sounds really impressive when you're only playing 4 notes. Differentiation. Across ensembles, If there are tiered ensembles based off their skill level, like one first band, third band, etc., I would give harder music to the top ensemble and give music that can push the lower ensembles to want to be in the top ensemble. So if a student isn't ready for a grade 4, this is crazy. Don't give them a grade 4. Give them a 3 or a 3.5. You want to find music that challenges them, not make them want to quit because they got the last band and their music is too easy. This also helps develop their tone and their technique and literacy and growth, because you start them off with the easier music, develop those aspects as you rehearse, and when you develop their tone in the younger bands, they'll have amazing sound once they hit the grade 4s and they can play that harder music. Within ensembles, I'm not a huge advocate for this, but simplifying the rhythms, you can start, I would rather just kind of start with a slower tempo and grind their way up to the written tempo over time, or loop it in rehearsal until they can do it, rather than change the part to hit the strong beats. Regardless, I would put assignments into chunks so it's easier to practice and for the brain to digest and they can absorb their feedback. For ELLs, modeling conducting is a crutch. In a pinch, it's really easy for students to understand conducting gestures and for me to sing how I want the part play rather than go into a rant that isn't going to be understood depending on the level of the ELL. So going back to being able to be understood, bumper sticker statements are always how I communicate in rehearsal. If what you're trying to say isn't going to fit on a bumper sticker, it's too long of a statement. So I actually got this idea from Professor McBride, who got this idea from Dr. Floyd. So an example would be like flutes, play more legato in measure 48. And then I would sing the part and play with like really broad strokes so they know to play really legato there. So when I do that, I can model the legato when I sing the measure and how I want to play it. And the ELL doesn't even need to know the number as long as the part I sing and they understand where that is in the music by just like looking in their music. When it comes down to it, they can also have their buddy just point at the rehearsal number. I can also double dip into the legato idea with the conducting, so everyone understands to be more connected in their playing. What guides my future repertoire selection? I do agree with the PML grading system. It factors in things that make the music more or less advanced for you, so you can spend more time finding pieces that are good for your ensemble in a ballpark range, rather than you stumbling in the dark hoping you find something that isn't good for your band. Rigor and inclusion. Going back to sectaric dances, it's a hard piece, but it's hard enough where I think if a student practices on their part for like 10 minutes, the part should mostly be cleaned up. So 10 minutes times the amount of hard parts in the piece, so just picking a number, 5 or 6 hard parts, that's only 50 or 60 minutes outside of class, 10 minutes a day throughout the school week. That's pretty manageable. As a huge plus, I think this piece has a lot of motivation to practice it. Dr. McInturf would always say in the first section of differentiated pedagogy that our jobs as music educators is to motivate them to practice. There are fast, crazy licks in this piece. There are crazy dynamics. If a student likes the piece, they'll probably practice it on their own without needing a whole lot of motivation from you to do it. Inclusion can be a little hard sometimes. Melodies just kind of naturally lean towards the same instruments. Woodwinds and trumpets got lucky with this. They're going to get a lot of melodic parts. But as a tuba player, I kind of understand my role already in an ensemble is to be a support. I support the sound of the group. So with that in mind, throw them a couple bones, throw them a couple cool parts to cycle for your tuba and percussionist so they stay engaged and they feel like they're actually contributing something to the group. Also, just praise them when they are doing something well. If the tubas are playing with good dynamic contrast or the percussionists are playing really well in time and sight reading well, let them know so they feel included into the group. Let's see. What I'm hoping my repertoire will do with students is identify them as musicians regardless of background, race, sex, whatever else. Everyone in my class is a musician, and musicians make music. I'll do my best to find music that students can connect to and enjoy, but at the end of the day, musicians portray emotion through their sound, and all good music does that very thing. So with that said, I would want to just pick music that my students feel like they're portraying good emotions through. Alright, I think that's about it. I hit more in the ballpark of my times, that's good. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the video. I'm going to post a link with the video so you can listen to the piece if you'd like. I recommend it, it's really fun. Thank you.